What if the most shocking little people, big world headline right now, never actually happened? Right now, social media is exploding with claims that Caryn Chandler was arrested at an airport, escorted away by police, and quietly removed from public view, while Amy Roloff is suddenly being crowned the real winner of the entire Roloff family saga. But here's the question almost no one is asking. If Caryn was really arrested, where is the proof? There's no mugshot, no charges, no court records. Just viral posts, heavily edited clips, and a wall of silence that's allowed speculation to spiral out of control. So tonight we're breaking it all down, what fans think they saw, what likely actually happened, and why this rumor exploded the way it did, even without a single confirmed fact. Welcome back to the channel. If you've spent even 5 minutes scrolling TikTok, Reddit, or YouTube lately, you've probably seen the same explosive headlines popping up again and again. Caryn arrested at the airport. Police escort Caryn Chandler. Amy Roloff finally wins. At first glance, it sounds massive, almost impossible to ignore. A public arrest, police involvement, a dramatic shift in the Roloff family power dynamic. But here the problem. Little People, Big World has entered a completely new era, one where speculation spreads faster than facts, screenshots replace sources, and silence from TLC creates a vacuum that fans rush to fill. And once that vacuum forms, rumors don't just circulate, they evolve. They grow more dramatic, more emotional, and eventually more believable than the truth. Today, we're stepping away from the clickbait version of this story. We're breaking down the full timeline, examining where these claims actually started, why fans are so quick to believe them, and most importantly, what has been confirmed versus what exists only in online imagination. Because if Caryn Chandler was truly arrested, if police really escorted her through an airport, there would be evidence. And that's where this story gets interesting. The airport arrest rumor didn't begin with a police report. It didn't begin with court records, official statements, or breaking news alerts. It began with a visual moment and a lot of assumptions layered on top of it. According to posts circulating on TikTok, Facebook groups, and Reddit threads, Caryn Chandler was allegedly seen at an airport alongside uniformed officers. Almost immediately, screenshots began spreading. Short, blurry video clips were reposted again and again, often stripped of any original context. Captions grew more dramatic with every repost. Caryn detained. Police escort at airport. Arrest happening quietly. And within hours, the narrative completely snowballed. What may have started as speculation about a security escort quickly transformed into claims of police involvement, and then escalated even further into outright statements that Caryn had been arrested. No paperwork, no charges, no confirmation, just repetition, and repetition creates belief. But here's the crucial detail that keeps getting lost in the noise. Airports are full of law enforcement for routine, non-criminal reasons. Uniformed officers are everywhere in major airports. They assist with security screenings. They escort travelers at the request of airlines. They respond to medical issues, disputes, and logistical problems that have nothing to do with crimes. Sometimes they simply walk someone through a secured area. None of that equals an arrest. An escort is not a detention. Presence is not proof. And uniforms alone do not tell a story. In the age of social media, context rarely travels with the clip. A few seconds of video filmed from a distance, without sound, explanation, or confirmation, becomes a blank canvas. And fans, already emotionally invested in the Roloff family dynamics, fill in those blanks with theories that match their expectations. That's how a moment becomes a narrative. And how a narrative becomes a scandal. What's missing from every version of this rumor is the one thing that actually matters: verification. No airport statements, no police department confirmation, no arrest records, no eyewitness accounts that include names, times, or locations that can be independently checked. Instead, the rumor feeds on ambiguity, and ambiguity is powerful online. Silence from TLC, silence from Caryn, silence from Matt. That absence doesn't prove guilt, but it does leave space for speculation to grow unchecked. And once a rumor reaches that point, it no longer needs facts to survive. It only needs attention. This is the exact point where speculation completely overtook logic. On social media, the word escort quickly transformed into arrest. But those two things are not remotely the same, legally, procedurally, or visually. An arrest comes with unmistakable indicators: handcuffs, clear physical detention, officers actively restraining or controlling movement, and most importantly, documentation. In real arrests, especially in a public setting like an airport, there is always a paper trail: booking records, charges filed, court listings, incident reports, something verifiable, something traceable. In this case, none of that exists. There are no arrest records tied to Caryn Chandler, no criminal filings, no court dockets, no police department statements, no law enforcement confirmation of any kind, not locally, not federally, not anywhere. And visually, there's no footage showing restraint, no cuffs, no visible detention, no moment where Caryn is being told she's under arrest. So what could people actually be seeing? Airports are one of the most tightly controlled environments in the country. People are escorted every single day for reasons that have nothing to do with crimes, including airport security coordination, private travel arrangements, VIP movement through terminals, or routine TSA procedures triggered by crowd control, delays, or identification checks. Even non-law enforcement personnel are often mistaken for police due to uniforms, posture, or proximity. Add shaky footage, zoomed-in screenshots, and dramatic captions, and suddenly a routine situation becomes a criminal narrative. And here where psychology takes over. Once the word police enters the conversation, people stop asking questions. The assumption instantly becomes guilt. Viewers begin filling in the blanks with emotion instead of evidence. But reality doesn't work that way. An escort is not an arrest, presence is not proof, and silence is not confirmation. What happened here isn't a cover-up. It's a textbook example of how quickly speculation can turn a visual moment into a false conclusion when context is removed. And once that narrative sticks, facts struggle to catch up. TLC's silence didn't just leave a gap, it created a vacuum. And on the internet, vacuums don't stay empty for long. They get filled with theories, assumptions, and worst-case interpretations. When a network that has followed a family for nearly 2 decades suddenly says nothing during a viral controversy, fans don't read that as neutrality. They read it as strategy or avoidance. Reality TV audiences have been trained over years to expect clarification when something big happens. A statement, a denial, a carefully worded "this will be addressed next season." When none of that appears, the silence itself becomes part of the story. Viewers start asking, why wouldn't they shut this down if it wasn't true? And once that question takes hold, logic often takes a back seat. Caryn's lack of direct response only intensified that reaction. In the age of instant social media statements, silence feels deliberate. Not posting doesn't look like restraint, it looks like evasion. Even if the reality is as simple as legal advice, privacy, or exhaustion, fans rarely assume the most reasonable explanation. They assume the most dramatic one. Matt Roloff's silence adds another layer. Given his history of speaking openly, sometimes too openly, about family conflicts, property disputes, and personal decisions, the absence of clarification stands out. For longtime viewers, that contrast feels meaningful. It feeds the belief that something must be happening behind the scenes, even when there's no proof that anything is happening at all. And this is where emotional investment matters. Fans aren't neutral observers. They've watched marriages dissolve, children distance themselves, and the farm, once a symbol of unity, turn into a battleground. There are unresolved feelings, lingering frustrations, and deeply divided loyalties. When a rumor appears that seems to fit an existing narrative, many people don't question it, they accept it. Silence in this environment becomes suspicious. Suspicion hardens into belief. Belief turns into certainty. And by the time facts, or the lack of them, are examined, the story has already solidified in the public imagination. At that point, even a denial can feel too late, because the rumor has emotionally satisfied something viewers were already primed to believe. In the end, TLC's silence didn't confirm anything legally or factually, but culturally, it allowed the rumor to evolve unchecked. And once a reality TV audience fills in the blanks themselves, those imagined answers can feel more real than the truth ever could. As the rumors around Caryn intensified, something else happened quietly. Amy Roloff's public image began to shift. There was no press release, no victory lap, no "I told you so." But when fans looked back, the contrast was striking. Amy left the farm. She secured financial independence. She rebuilt her life on her own terms, away from the constant tension, power struggles, and unresolved conflict that define the later years of the show. To many viewers, that feels like winning. Not because Amy defeated Matt, not because she exposed Caryn, and not because she ever demanded validation, but because she escaped. In reality TV culture, survival and separation often read as success, and Amy didn't just move on, she stabilized. She remarried. She found peace. She stopped fighting battles that never seemed designed for her to win. So when Caryn becomes the subject of controversy, even unverified controversy, fans instinctively frame it as emotional balance being restored, a kind of karmic correction. Amy wins without speaking, without reacting, without defending herself. And that's what makes the narrative so powerful. This moment isn't driven by court records or confirmations. It's driven by long-term memory, by years of perceived injustice, by the audience's desire for closure in a story that never provided it. Fans aren't celebrating Caryn's downfall, they're celebrating Amy's quiet exit. Because in their eyes, the person who walked away with peace didn't lose the farm. She won the story. The Caryn airport arrest rumor is a perfect example of how quickly speculation can harden into fact online, especially when silence, history, and emotional investment collide. No police report. No booking record. No confirmed charges. And yet the story took on a life of its own because it felt believable. Amy's perceived win was never really about courtrooms, money, or someone else's downfall. For many fans, it represents something far quieter: closure. She walked away from the chaos, rebuilt her life, and no longer has to explain herself. In the world of reality TV, that kind of exit often feels like victory. And Caryn's rumored downfall, that isn't about law enforcement. It's about projection. Years of unresolved tension, unanswered questions, and emotional loyalty looking for a place to land. Until confirmed evidence replaces viral storytelling, these narratives will keep getting louder, darker, and more dramatic, because speculation fills the space where transparency should be. So before the next headline hits your feed, ask the uncomfortable question: is this actually happening, or does it just feel satisfying to believe? Thanks for watching, and until next time.